Hi, Lena. It's nice to see that you've written another set of essays. Let's get straight into this, see what you wrote. The given pie charts compare various income sources of 3 countries in 2014. Overall, Jimsland had the biggest economic size, followed by Timsland and Bensland. Okay, this is a little awkward. Overall, Jimsland had the biggest economic size, followed by Timsland and Bensland in terms of the income amounts. All right, that would have been a cleaner way to say this. All right. I assume you did a little math here in order to determine, you looked at these numbers and you said, okay, well, this is why. So fair enough, that's fine. I think it also would have been interesting if you had said maybe what the main source of income was for each country. You could have, that would have been one thing, or you could have also said that also the major source of income for each country differed. That could have been a good overview as well. All right, let's move on. While natural resources were the source which generated the lowest income in all regions, each country had strength in different sources. In Bensland, you don't have to say the country because we don't say that for our own countries. We don't say in England country, in Korea country, in, I don't know, Italy country. So just say in Bensland. So in Bensland, agricultural activities recorded the highest income at 45,000, whereas, again, is there a word missing here? Here we go. Heavy industry was in Timsland and services in Jimsland case at 75,000 and 90,000 respectively. Okay, that's a kind of awkward again. Let's try it again. In Bensland, agricultural activities recorded the highest income at 45,000, whereas heavy industry was the top source of income, and in Jimsland it was services. Okay, so some of the language, some of your expression isn't really natural. I'm trying to stick and be as true to what you have said as possible, but you can see that in doing so, it does come out a little awkward. So if it were up to me, I might have changed it a little bit further. So maybe I would say something like, in Bensland, agricultural activities earned the highest income at 45,000%, while in Timsland, the top earner was, what was it? Heavy industry, and in Jimsland, this was services. Okay, so that's probably something I would say, and then you could have also maybe put these figures in parentheses to keep it from being kind of sloppy. Okay, comparing the 4 income sources with the exception of natural resources. Okay, agriculture in Timsland made only 1/3 of the level of Bensland at 15,000 and 35,000 in Jimsland. Service generated less than a half of the income that Jimsland made at 40,000. This was followed by Bensland, where the income from service was another half of Timsland at 20,000. Heavy industry was a strong income source only in Timsland, as the other 2 countries made only 15,000 each. Lastly, light industry yield a little above more than half of Jimsland and Timsland. I think you mean and. Oh, I don't know. Oh, I understand. In Timsland. Okay, at 40,000. I know a quarter of Timsland was made in Bensland. Okay, so check it out, Lena. You're doing a good effort, but you're making a good effort rather. But I have to say that a lot of this is awkward and it's really hard to follow. Okay, that's the truth. So let's actually look at this together and see what we can do to make it a little cleaner, let's say. Okay, so since we have it in front of us, actually, look at this. The figures that you referred to are actually in US millions. So, seeing that here, you can see that what you've been saying so far, your data has all been inaccurate because you've not been referring to these numbers as millions. You've only been referring them as you see them here. I didn't even see that anywhere in your task 1, okay? So, what could you have done? There were several ways you could do this. What's essentially happening? You've got 15 pieces of information here. Should you talk about all of them? Absolutely not. Here, this is one of those task 1s where you're really going to need to wisely group together. So one thing you could have done is you could have organized it by industry. So for example, you could have talked about heavy and light industry together, and then in terms of each of the 3 countries, okay? And then why don't you talk about agriculture and natural resources together, since again thematically they're kind of similar. And then you can leave services on its own. So that's one way, but you do have to group or see if they're, and then what do I mean here? I mean, for example, so heavy and light industries accounted for 15 and 10,000 here, whereas these figures were far greater in Tim's land at this and this. And then you can also say, look, these are actually the same number. And so you can say that actually. You could say that while the figure for heavy industry in Jim's land and Ben's land was the same in terms of dollar amount, it made up a smaller proportion of the income in Jim's land. Here, you could say that light industry was very large at 70,000, which is a little over a quarter of the total income. Okay, so doing some things like that might be a way to kind of make this easier to group together. All right, I hope that helps. I don't want to spend any more time on your task 1. Let's take a look at your task 2. Okay, so here it is. Do you think it is better for students to work before their university study? Why? Here's what you said. Okay. It is a common path for teenagers who recently graduated from their high schools to straightly continue studying in university. We don't say straightly. To continue straight away. How about graduate from their high schools to go straight to university for studies, okay? Or to go straight into university. That's also an appropriate way to say this. It seems like earning an undergraduate degree is more important than any other thing, careful, in their near future. I believe that having a certain amount of time before entering university is essential in their life, and having work experience, get rid of that A, would be one of the best ways to spend that gap. This is confusing to me. Let me tell you why. Because here you say it's earning an undergraduate degree is more important than anything else. But even though you say that, you then say, I think that having some time before you enter university is the best way. So that's confusing to me. If you think that earning an undergraduate degree is the most important thing in their life, then wouldn't it make sense that you would want them to do it straight away? So I'm a little confused as to why you said that sentence. It doesn't really flow in terms of logical ideas. All right, let's move on. One reason is that most of the high school, okay, I don't really want you to do this. One reason is that. So it's a brand new paragraph. So treat it like a new beginning. In other words, one reason why students should work prior to university is that most high school teenagers cannot find their aptitude of studying. That's awkward. I don't know what you're trying to say. Are you trying to say they haven't learned good study skills? Are you trying to say they haven't learned how to study? I'm not really sure, but it's a little confusing. The subject that they choose for undergraduate study could either fit them well or not, and they should ponder to choose the suitable one. Okay. Working as an intern or even as a part-time employee could help them navigate their areas of interest, even if it is a short period. I was one of those who went to university straight away after high school, and I chose my major, sociology, only because my test score fit into it, and it is in the social science boundary. You don't mean boundary. You mean in the social science sector, in the social sciences. Okay. I wish I could have known my areas of interest and what I would ultimately want to be. Having work experience without the A in a related field would have helped me a lot to decide. Oh, full stop. Okay, let's keep moving. Another reason why students should work before university is that they can build interpersonal skills, no and, make this plural, in work by dealing with many people from different backgrounds, and this could feed into their amicable social life. I don't really like that word amicable here, it doesn't fit. Once they get into university, studying in university requires them lots of teamwork. No. Studying in university requires lots of teamwork and communication skills to deal with their professors. The one who, how about this? Those who already have the interpersonal experience are expected to yield higher scores in school tasks, which would involve teamwork and more qualified school life. What does that mean, more qualified school life? I really don't know. There have been more students who hold bachelor's degree without a certainty of their future career or lack of interpersonal skills. Without a lack of interpersonal skills? That doesn't make sense. Having work experience before the university study would certainly benefit them in the long term. Okay, so Leena, what's happening here is that you've got a few areas that are incoherent. I really don't know what you're trying to say. It does create some confusion. Another thing that I absolutely wanted to see in this essay was I wanted to see more development. Take a look at your second body paragraph. It's the same length as your introduction, and it's just really far too short. You said that working before university helps improve interpersonal skills. You really needed to explain that a little more. You said that you deal with people from different backgrounds. Okay, well, my counter argument is that, but in university you also meet people from diverse backgrounds and you have to work together. So why does one need to work before university in order to gain this skill? Can't this be something that university itself provides and helps develop? So I'm a little confused about that argument. I think there were other things that you could have said. So, you know, maybe when you're kind of thrown into the deep end, as it were, you're forced to mature more quickly. You're forced to be more responsible when you start working straight away, rather than when you're in a university setting with other pretty much same-aged peers. Okay? When you're in a working environment, you have demands made of you from your boss, from senior executives, or whoever, and you really have to rise to the challenge. So this is a wonderful learning tool for students before they enter university to really get a taste of what awaits them after they finish university. Okay? And having this experience prior to university may help mold them and may help mold some of their decisions that they make regarding their future. Okay, so I think something like that would have been nice to see. Okay, all right, so again, there were a number of word errors that were a little problematic. I've already talked about that. So go ahead and correct these. Let's see some more essays from you. I hope the feedback that you're getting is helping you understand where the weaknesses are and that they're helping you overcome them. Okay? Good luck. I'll be waiting for your essays.